It's Jen. This is another episode of Reframing Me. In honor of this week's Autumnal Equinox, this is part 2 of a 3-part series to honor this turning point in nature and really use it as an opportunity to look at how it impacts us. We are all a part of nature. We are all connected to this earth and to the universe. And like all other living, growing things on earth, we cannot pretend that we aren't also affected by the energy forces and the pivotal moments in nature. Just like all other plants and animals, flowers, trees, everything around us runs through cycles based on the season. So, of course, we're also going to live or look or behave or feel differently when the seasons change. We began this reflection in part 1 by looking at all of the areas of your life and your relationships and yourself that you have tended to and nurtured over the summer months. I asked you to look at it and to be grateful for all of the growth. Because we have all grown and changed over these months, and so have our families, right? Because each individual person has experienced their own growth, which cannot not impact the family unit as a whole, right? Well, the equinoxes, spring and autumn, are the only 2 days throughout the year when the earth is in perfect balance. The dividing line between day and night perfectly connects the North and the South poles. Day and night are equal all over the planet. Balance. Something we all strive for in our lives and in our families and in our relationships. Something that I don't know about you, but I feel like I am always falling just a bit short. Who am I kidding, right? I am always falling a bit short on this. Whether it's trying to balance my roles as mother and wife and daughter, or even my roles of mother to Tobias, mother to Cain, and mother to Ever, because even that can be a total balancing act. I mean, professionally, I struggle with balancing my roles as a podcaster and a professor. I'm balancing my emotions. Oh Lord, am I balancing my emotions? Happiness that I have this wonderful family here with me right now under one roof, getting along and thriving, but also the sadness that I know how finite our time like this is as I watch the days and weeks and months ticking by. The excitement of watching my children growing up and the dread at watching them growing up. Hope for my own new chapters and the fear for what that all means. And often I am even balancing multiple of these emotions simultaneously. Excitement and sadness and hope and fear and happiness and worry and pride and all of it. I'm balancing my kids' needs and my husband's needs and my parents' needs and my friends' needs and my students' needs and my listeners' needs and my needs. I'm even often balancing my physical needs and my emotional needs and my spiritual needs. We're balancing our time and our roles and our finances and our emotions. And we have long given up balancing our hormones. In our families, we may be balancing our roles as the nurturer and the disciplinarian, or balancing how much independence we give our kids and how much control we try to maintain. And for those of us with multiple kids, we're trying to maintain the balance of each of these for each of them. So yeah, it's safe to say that balance is something that we seek in our lives. Let's take a minute to go back to a family communication concept that we covered way back in an early episode, the roles that we hold in our families. A role describes a set of behaviors that a family member performs and that are expected from that person, from the other family members. And all of this in relation to all of the other people in the family and all of the other people's behaviors that they perform. But it's the family as a system that sustains the role over time. And it's not like, oh, you were born as the cheerleader or you were born as the leader. Your role may be influenced by your predispositions, but the role we play in our families then grows out of our organized pattern of interactions over time. Like you might be predisposed to be more positive or to be organized. But then it's the interactions of the family that force that positive person into the role of cheerleader or that organized person into the role of leader. All of our interactions are influenced by our previous interactions, and then they also influence our future interactions. So they're actually an outcome of how the family system is organized. Like, you can't have two parents who are clowns. That's a circus. Someone needs to be the responsible parent. So, one family's member's behavior is the response to other family members' behaviors, right? So, if one parent is the clown, then the other one has to be the serious one. Or maybe you wouldn't have needed to be the peacemaker if there hadn't been so much conflict in your family. So everyone develops communication behaviors that are associated with their position in the family. Yes, someone might be the cheerleader or the leader, or they might be the planner, the disciplinarian, the teacher, the mediator, the clown, or all other types of roles. And our roles are the way of knowing things like, what am I responsible for in this family? What should I say? What should I do as a mother or a father or a daughter or a husband in this family? What is expected of me in this family system? Like, how am I supposed to behave? Now, in our families, there are a couple of different issues that come up due to the roles that we play in our families, and we should pay special attention to them right now at this time of reflection. First, like we said in part one, the only constant is change, right? And as our families evolve and grow, so are our roles. Maybe the need for a role that you played is becoming obsolete as your kids get older. Like, are you still the coach if there's no one left to coach? Or as the kids get older and get along better, maybe you don't need to be the peacemaker anymore. Those kind of things. Or maybe you just see that the roles are changing. Like if we go back to coach, my husband has coached the kids in sports since the very first U4 soccer team, which would have been what, like 14 years ago? The coach role for us, because they're all still playing sports and all still training, it isn't obsolete yet. But now, as some of the quote unquote coaching is more, especially for my oldest, moving away from sports, like moving away from soccer or lacrosse or kicking or tackling or whatever. And for him, it's moving into coaching him how to apply for colleges, how to understand how colleges work. Okay. That kind of thing is obviously more my area. And so our definition of the role of coach for him and who plays that role and to what degree is also changing. I'm the planner. I always have been. I'm the planner. I'm the leader, both of my family now and of my family of origin. Okay. So I plan the trips and the birthdays and the holidays. It's just my role. And I always say, and I'm not really necessarily joking, but I'm fairly certain that they'd never do anything if I didn't plan it. But I can already see that two of my kids have the potential that they might step up to that role someday. I can see definite planning potential. And while I'm not 100% sure of who just yet, it's enough that I do have hope that someday I will be able to just show up and have fun like my whole group always does. I mean, I have led 10 people around Disney for a week. I have led 7 people around Vegas in August in like 10,000 degree heat. I have led 11 people around Ireland. Okay. We don't live in Ireland. So another country. And then not to mention leading these 5 that I have all the time, like everywhere. And I know that someday I will be rewarded by just showing up and having fun. I am sure of it. Okay, well, the other issue that comes up with roles is the conflict between our roles. So, like, how do you handle the different expectations of having several roles and the role relationships that you have at the same time? Because sometimes our roles as wife and mother, or mother and daughter, or friend and wife, or mother and employee, or podcaster and professor, or even within your role, say as mother, as the nurturer and the disciplinarian, or any 2 roles that you play in your life or in your family, sometimes those roles can conflict. And sometimes the expectations in those roles can conflict. Maybe it's just at a particular point in time. Maybe work happens to be super busy, and so it's dominating the balance that you usually have between work and home. Or maybe your children tend to be super busy, and so it's just dominating the balance that you typically have between home and work. Okay. Or maybe as your teens are getting older, you've needed to be better at balancing your role relationship with them, moving to be more egalitarian, or at least moving for more of close to a horizontal relationship with them than the vertical relationship that you had with them when they were younger, right? Because when they're little, you have a vertical relationship. You are clearly the one in charge. You are clearly above them, right? But as they're getting older, now you've had to balance that a little bit more because now you're moving towards more of an equal, horizontal relationship with them. And you might have different vertical, horizontal relationship type things with different children. And sometimes you have to manage a different balance in those relationships. Or maybe you have a teen who's going through a tough time. So you need to show them some more grace than you normally do. So your role between nurturing and disciplinarian has had to soften a bit. Our roles and the relationships among our many roles are constantly changing. So let's use this time of balance, the equinox. Let's use it to look at the balance in our own lives. Today, I'd like you to think about this. In what areas of your life do you feel really well balanced? Like, where are you just nailing it? And where are you not? Where do you feel out of balance? Why do you think that is? It's okay to feel out of balance. I mean, look at the earth. Even it only gets its shit together twice a year, right? It's only balanced 2 out of 365 damn days. So even we're doing better than that. So feel good about that. You have your shit together better than the universe. Look at that. But regardless, as you move into this new season, how can you try? What can you do to bring this area or bring these roles back into balance? Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't done so already, go back and catch up with part 1 and come back for part 3 to wrap up the Autumnal Equinox series. If you enjoy the show, if you've taken something helpful from this episode or from another, would you please take a quick minute to share it with your friends who I also think would enjoy it? And if you don't already, please follow the show so that you don't miss out on any new content. Reach out to me on socials, on Instagram and TikTok at Reframing Me, on Facebook, Reframing Me, and join the Facebook group, Reframing Me, the podcast community, to connect with other women who are also raising teens and rediscovering themselves. Until next time, be well, communicate, and find your own balance.